Hello, my fellow chatterers and book lovers, and anyone else who's popped in because you're curious or you're lost. This is part 2 of my studying segments. So I can't vlog, so I'm doing it in little bits and pieces, letting you know my journey in the magical readathon. I'm in Orilium studying during the autumn equinox to get my qualification to have a career in dream weaving. I think it's dream raving, but it could be dream walking. So sorry if I don't know my own career choice. But the last book I had picked up was to get a level O in psionics and divination. I need to get all the way up to D, so I was first. And for that, I was studying Time Theory 1, where I had to read a book involving time travel. And for that, I read Only a Monster by Vanessa Len. This is a YA fantasy, and I knew very, very little about it. I knew that it had time travel in, hence the prompt, but I wasn't sure how that was going to play out. And I knew this story seemed to have the three main characters. I was slightly concerned we were going to be heading into love triangle territory. I have got the artwork. This is the Fairy Loot edition, so it has got those beautiful edges there. And we have the artwork of three of the main characters here. So this is Joan. She's our protagonist. In the chapter I spoke about last time, she basically finds out from her grandma that she is a monster, and we had no idea what that entails or what that meant. This is Nick, and this is Aaron. Nick, she was due to meet up on a date, got lost in some time travel with, and totally missed the date, got totally freaked out, and then her grandma told you she was a monster and that she could never tell anyone. Aaron is part of another family within the monster world, and the plot kind of gets going very, very early on. So I really wasn't sure what I was going to expect with this book at all. I think I had sort of like, I didn't even know what my expectations were going in with this. But because it was a YA fantasy, I was just wanting something that I could just kind of fly through and enjoy reading, and it wasn't going to feel too dense and have me having to kind of use my brain a bit more. And this was really fast paced, and I really enjoyed it. It was really what I needed at this point in my reading. It was just pure adventure, escapism. I was really intrigued as to what was going to be happening. So I really enjoyed the world building in this. It is urban fantasy. It is set in our world, and the setting is London, and we are slowly introduced to the idea of monsters. These appear human, but we find out they have like extra powers, and one of the big things is they take life from humans by touching their necks, and that gives them the power to travel through time. So there's kind of a dubious topic that you are slowly taking months, years, days away from people, just so you can travel through time. So there is an ethical quandary here that is looked at. So there is an interesting family dynamic. I really enjoyed the family feeling we heard from Joan. I'm really intrigued by the other families that we were brought into in this world. There's kind of like secret monster places known by a symbol. And then we find out that the world I just kind of presumed it was sort of almost like, monsters just all going rogue. But no, there's a system. There's like monster police. There's all that kind of stuff going on that you find out more about. So there feels there are bigger things at work. At the end of the book, I was very much kind of feeling that although this particular story had concluded, there were still many, many loose ends floating around. And I was very relieved to see that there is another book planned. It is a trilogy that is planned. There will be another book following it. And I think there were certain hints set up as to what the characters might expect or might need to explore a bit more as this continued. So I found that really fascinating. There's some really interesting side characters in here as well. So aside from our three teenagers, there is older, slightly dodgy, drunk male who has a dodgy stall just all sorts of dodgy kind of going on, but you find out a little bit more about him, and there's hidden things that he reveals, and he was a very interesting character that I really enjoyed. So I'm really keen to find out more about this world in the next books. Yeah, this was such an enjoyable read that I really wasn't expecting. The characters were fine. I didn't like fall in love with any of them or need to adopt any of them, but they were enjoyable. I didn't find any of them annoying. But for me, it was kind of like the pacing and the world building and the intrigue of the plot that was the real kind of draw to this story. So I really want to find out more about that magic system and kind of what's going on, and see kind of how that plays out. It was really nice to kind of see more of the world be explored, and kind of Joan sort of come to terms with what that means for her. So that was like really nice to see. And of course the time travel. So there is one jump in this. So if you enjoy 90s, you're in for a treat, because they go back to the 90s. And it was really fun to kind of see other characters that they'd seen at different points. I really hope we get more of her past relatives, and we kind of see their journeys and see sort of where they come from. They were very interesting. There were some aspects to the time travel that I don't fully understand, that weren't quite clear to me, that I'd like to kind of sit the author down and just like hash out a bit more of like, so how does this all work? I have questions, but generally like it was quite easy to go on for the ride and enjoy the story and just kind of go where it took you, because it throws you in right from the beginning. So within the chapter I said last time, we're already like, you know, she's already gone through this, discovered she's a monster, we've already kind of got high stakes kind of going on, and then that continues. It doesn't let up. You know, the twist to set the story in motion happens very quickly after that, and the pace does not let up. It's constantly going, and that was very enjoyable. Is there anything else I wanted to say about this? I don't think so. I think I've covered it all. So yes, it's Only a Monster. It was a really fun. It was a really fun read. If you enjoy YA fantasy, I think you're really going to enjoy this one. I don't read enough of it to know if it's kind of done anything different, but I enjoyed the time travel. It was a really fun aspect to it. I enjoyed the kind of the morality questioning, like what side are we on? What's the best thing to do in this situation? I found all of that really interesting to read about. So yes, that was my time travel book. So now I need to see what I'm going to be studying next. So my next area of study is to read level O in spells and incantations. So that is, we will be studying spell, colour. So for that we have to spin the colour wheel and read a book with that colour. And I chose a red pen out of the drawer of pens, so I need to read a book that is red. So choosing a book that is red, I have gone for The Opposite of Butterfly Hunting, because you just move this dust jacket off here, it's totally red. There we are. Whoop. Flappy bits everywhere. The Opposite of Butterfly Hunting by Ivana Lynch. And this is a memoir. Ivana Lynch is best known for playing Luna Lovegood in the Harry Potter films. And this is her story about how she has struggled with anorexia and mental health. So the way she spoke about it when I saw her on a programme was really, really interesting, and I've wanted to pick it up. I'm also slightly terrified because I feel like it's going to make me cry and it might be difficult reading at some points. The tagline is "The Tragedy and Glory of Growing Up," I just have to show you these beautiful end pages here with all these butterflies on them. So I've already started it. I need to pick a bookmark out because I'm just using a flap at the moment. So here we go, I'm that far into it. So I've read the prologue of the first chapter and a little bit of chapter 2. So already I'm really enjoying Ivana's voice, the narrative tone that she has for the story. It's really engaging. It has moments of I don't know what the word is, but it's fun. Moments where I find her very funny. She's spoken about kind of her childhood and her perception and the feeling that everyone kind of expects her to decide what she wants to be. And I loved that when everyone was asking that classic growing up question, you say to children, what do you want to be when you grow up? She was telling them, a white unicorn with purple hair, which was marvellous and was quite saddened when, she had to be a human, realised that actually she was never going to turn into an animal and she was going to have to stay as a human. So I thought all of that was quite fun. So yes, so far her narrative voice is just really drawing me in, and so I'm very keen to kind of hear her tell the rest of her story. She's just kind of touched on that she's going to get to the point where she starts to kind of dig more into her mental health, and what she states very much with this memoir is she is trying to steer away as much as possible from, when she talks about her difficulties with anorexia, of sensationalizing. So she's not going to go into how thin she got, how much weight she lost, how little she was eating, because she found when she was reading books and trying to find inspiration to move away from all those thought processes, that it actually almost inspired her to keep going. So she said this almost in a way, it kind of, by talking about how bad you were, it almost glorifies what you were doing. So she's made a real effort to try and steer clear of that, and to, although she's going to be addressing kind of the real kind of dark points that kind of took her to that, and kind of almost that anorexia is a symptom of something else already that's you're already kind of struggling with. That there's kind of an underlying mental health thing first, and then you have the anorexia on top of that. So she's trying to dig to that kind of root cause and explore that fully. So she has to go into some dark places, but through that she feels she can come out the other side sort of more with where her journey's gone, and hopefully it will help other people kind of going through that as well. So I'm really I'm very, I don't know what the right word is. So keen doesn't feel like the right word. Interested doesn't feel like the right word to explain. I don't know. I'm looking forward to keeping reading it, even though it feels like the subject matter is going to be uncomfortable, and it's going to be really sad, because from all of her interviews and also from the Ivana as a child that we met at the beginning of this memoir, sort of like a bubbly, kind of hopeful, loves the beauty in the world person, and I don't want to see her go down that terrible downward spiral, but I'm keen to hear her story. I'm keen to hear what she has to say about her journey and how she made it through to the other side. There we go. There, I put it into words. So this is my next study, and I will let you know where I go from there. Hope you're all enjoying your reading months in August. Do let me know if you're also doing this readathon, or even if you're not and you've read something interesting, I'd love to hear about it, or if you're interested in any of the books that I have mentioned. Happy reading, everyone.